just another stitch. For those that don't know me, my name is Connie, and if you're new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you. Well, today I will be doing a crochet stitch tutorial, and the stitch that I'm going to be doing today doesn't have an actual name to it. It's a stitch that I discovered on Alison Russell's channel, and I will put the link for Alison Russell's channel in the description box of this video. So this is the stitch on the chocolate brown section here. That's the stitch that I'm going to be doing the tutorial on. And this is a stitch that actually looks best if your project that you're doing, if it's laying vertically. So keep that in mind when you're doing this stitch. So let's get started on the tutorial. Okay, to get you to where I am on my swatch, what you're going to need to do is a slip knot. Then you're going to need to do your chain. And for this stitch, your chain needs to be in increments of 4 plus 1. So my chain, I did 17 chains, which 16 is an increment of 4 plus 1 gives you 17. So after you do your chain, you're going to do a row of half double crochet stitches. So you skip the first chain and work the first half double crochet stitch into the second chain. And you do that all the way across the row. And that will give you 16 half double crochet stitches, which will get you to the point that I am at right here. And the row that I'm about to show you is the repeat that you're going to keep doing. It's a 1 row repeat. So let me put my hook back in, and I am going to chain 1. Okay, then you turn, and then let me put my stitch marker. And I am a firm believer in using stitch markers at the start and end of a row. So here's my stitch marker. Okay, so you're going to skip that chain that you just did and work into the very first half double crochet stitch. So the way that this row is going to work up, and I will be showing you, so you will know how to work this row, okay? Your first and last stitch of the row are both going to be a half double crochet stitch. So the first stitch, you do a half double crochet. Then you skip the next stitch, and then you move over to the following stitch, and you work a single crochet in that stitch. Then you go back to the stitch that you skipped and work a double crochet stitch. And you're going to keep doing that where you skip a stitch, work a single crochet stitch in the next stitch, come back to the skip stitch, and work a double crochet stitch. And you're going to do that all the way across the row until right before that last stitch. And then that last stitch, you're going to do a half double crochet stitch. So let's get started. Okay, like I said, you're going to work into that first half double crochet stitch, and you're going to be doing, you're going to be doing a half double crochet stitch into it. Okay. So we have our half double crochet stitch. And remember, we're going to be skipping the next stitch, which is this stitch right here. We're skipping that, and we're going into the next stitch here, and we're going to be working a single crochet stitch. Okay, so we're coming back to that skip stitch right here. You see? It's right there. This is the stitch you just did the single crochet stitch into, and you move one stitch over to the right, okay? And we're going to work a double crochet stitch. And if you have any questions about any of the basic stitches that are done here, like the double crochet, single crochet, half double crochet, how to chain, slip knots, I do have tutorials on all of those stitches in my crochet tutorial playlist. Okay, so we're going to be skipping that next stitch, which is right here. We skip that stitch, and we're going over to the next stitch right here. Okay, and it's a single crochet stitch. Okay, and we're going back to that stitch we skipped right there. See, right here, that stitch right there. And we're going to work a double crochet stitch into it. Okay, and again we skip the next stitch right here, this stitch we skip right there, and we move over to the next stitch right here, and we're working a single crochet stitch. And we come back to that skip stitch, which is right here, this stitch right here. See, that's where your needle's going to be going. I mean your hook. Okay, and we're doing a double crochet into that stitch. Okay, and again we skip the next stitch right here, and we're going into the next stitch here, and we're working a single crochet stitch. Okay, and we're coming back into that skip stitch again, and we're going to do a double crochet stitch. Okay, and yet again we skip the next stitch, this stitch here, and we're going to be working into, hold up 1 second, we're going to be working into this stitch right here. We're going to be doing a single crochet stitch. And we go back to that skip stitch right there. This is where you're going to want to go. Oops, right there. And we're working a double crochet stitch. Okay. So skip the next stitch right here, that stitch we're skipping, and work a single crochet right here. Right here. And we're coming back to that skip stitch, which is right here. And that's where you want to do your double crochet stitch. Okay, and we're going to do this one more time before we get to that last stitch. So you skip the next stitch here, and you go into this stitch and do a single crochet stitch. Go back to that stitch that you just skipped, which is right here, this stitch here, and you're going to do a double crochet stitch. Okay, so now we're at that last stitch where the stitch marker is. And let's remove that stitch marker. So this last stitch, we're going to be doing a half double crochet stitch. Okay. So we're at the end of the row. We're going to chain one, turn, place your stitch marker, and you're going to skip that chain and work a half double crochet into that very first half double crochet stitch. Okay, because remember, the first and last stitches are half double crochet stitches. And after you do that first half double crochet stitch, we're going to skip the next stitch right here, work a single crochet stitch into the next stitch. You go back to that stitch you just skipped right here, and work a double crochet stitch. Okay, and you just keep doing that. Skip a stitch, do a single crochet in the next stitch, go back to the skip stitch and do a double crochet. And then when you get to that very last stitch, that's going to be a half double crochet stitch. And that's all there is to doing this stitch. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's tutorial, and I hope everyone is having a fabulous yarny day. Bye!